Hi, this is Harrison Taylor. This is my Module 5, Understanding My Community, the Basehor-Linwood School District, and the community around it. So first, a sociological survey as far as time, labor, and money. Community is doing very well. There's a lot of jobs, a lot of capital available, and for the most part, the outskirts of the district is a very large district boundaries. So the outskirts do have a little bit less money and a little bit more rural. But anyway, so a few customs and things. It still has a small town feel, even though it's pretty close on the outskirts of Kansas City. There's gatherings, sporting events. They have a car show. A lot of things that pull the community together. The community has several leaders that lead a lot of times through social media. The district obviously has leaders. There's church groups. They use social media a lot. They use the internet, email, all those types of things for their communication. And then for the economic conditions, obviously very well. Then political structure. Most of the, any of the political policies that come down are all through the county. Basehor itself really doesn't have a whole lot going on as far as that goes. And then, as far as social tensions and community efforts, there's, in the past there's been issues because the Basehor and Linwood school districts were forced to merge in, I believe, the 80s. And so at times there's been a, Basehor versus Linwood, and the communities in those two towns can be quite different. And so there's been some things with that, but it's been fairly inclusive, I think, more recently. And then the community is not really that diverse, but there are some ethnicities and languages in the community, definitely a Hispanic population, for sure. Okay, as far as customs and traditions, again, big time small town component, but it's a commuter town. Most people are traveling into Kansas City or into the Legends to work. And then also it seems like there's a sports and then, high expectations in the community. Habits of people, people are all about technology and interacting online in the area, it seems like. And people are also really involved with the school. That's like the one uniting thing in the area is the school. So there's really a lot that connects the community there. Okay, race religion, has an impact. People are pretty open about their views, especially on social media. And then, most of the community is upper class, but there is a lower class, and it's a huge difference between those two. I think there's really high expectations that has a huge impact on policy and curriculum, especially in the school district. And then also change has been difficult at times, like with the merging of the schools, but it's been much more progressive. Been a lot of growth in the area, a lot of people moving into town, so that's been big. Okay. Education level, most people are English speaking, some Spanish. There's some blue collar families, mostly upper class. Most people have college degrees and stuff in the district for the most part. And then there's mostly young families. A lot of people are moving in. The younger classes are bigger in size than the older classes, and so just the growth continues to add that way. And then as far as male female, pretty close to even. Occupation of people, most of the people work in the Legends or drive to Kansas City, mostly jobs that require degrees, and the population is growing really fast. And then as far as social tensions, some things come up on social media. Community is relatively open-minded, so nothing too overwhelming there. As far as communication channels, different things that are used, cell phones, email, social media are the biggest, lots of technology, and the school sends out a lot of communication, used for announcements and, to get change, and social issues, all sorts of things. I think it's pretty effective. There's not really a huge radio, TV um, component, because most of it's just out of Kansas City as far as the Base or Linwood community, but a lot of content is online. There's some Spanish speakers in the area, but not that many really as far as communication that becomes an issue. And then also most people get their information from TV or social media, I believe, and a lot of that would be online. Community groups, we definitely have some big community groups. A lot of in the school and the community, a lot of those have kind of presence online. Specifically, there is some farming on the outskirts. The school and the outside community has some LGBTQ groups, and there's quite a few others similar to those. And then, the influence, there's not a huge influence as far as, things that are available with policy, curriculum, textbooks, but there's so much online that, students have a ton of access to, and a lot of research-based things in classes. Students are really involved. I think students in the school feel like they can make a difference. I think they feel like they can reach a lot of people, and there have been quite a few things like that. And then also the people in the community try to make change, and a lot of people are bought into their civic duties. People help out, such as a tornado in Linwood, things like that. School and community do a pretty good job working together, for sure. And then, it's fairly united front, I'd say, and there's definitely a culture and a, people feel part of the community for sure. Okay, leadership. I think the biggest leadership in the area would be like the school leaders, district leadership, the coaches, and then there's a base or Facebook group, and the people who control that group seem to be definitely big leaders and, have a lot of influence for sure. And, the people that are influenced are definitely parents, students, citizens as a whole, really the whole community. Some characteristics of these people, they can handle, there's been so much growth in this area. They've been able to handle that fairly well and take charge of that. They're easily accessible because of technology mostly, and have their information online, really easy to get a hold of for sure, and responsive. And I think that the community and the district leaders are fairly connected, and they have ways of finding information if they need it, and work fairly well together. So as far as economic conditions, really mostly high economically in the area. There's been a ton of growth with businesses and things. A lot of jobs. People don't have trouble finding jobs at all, really. It's more of, how good are the jobs that they're able to find. And then most people are commuting for those jobs. But there are a few businesses that open up in the area. But most of them are driving, closer to Kansas City. The political structure, I'd say it's generally separate. Some of it bleeds in, a lot of it, there's a lot of learning with the politics are going outside the school. So, definitely some of it's talked about, but I'd say it's fairly separate. And then, the property taxes are, property values are high. So the school district really has plenty of money, which is, really fortunate. Social tensions, there's really not a lot of social tensions that I really see, but there's some diversity. So, there's a little bit of that. There's no gangs, but, the school's so close to Kansas City, Kansas, and they do have a gang problem that, it's on the outskirts, but it really doesn't creep into our school. There's definitely cliques in the school and the community, but I'd say it's about the same, or not any, higher level than anywhere else. And then discrimination doesn't seem to be a huge problem. But, the demographics are pretty one-sided as far as, mostly white. So, there can be some discrimination just on that. But, maybe underlying tensions, but nothing too severe. Places people get information. School, I think they protect people's privacies. They do a really good job of that. They keep an eye on that, so make sure, they do survey the students. They use a panorama survey to get a lot of good data out of that. And then, it's all those things. And then the district is really transparent. Everything's posted online, so you can see what's happening for sure. Then power structures, I don't see too much of this, but mostly, higher level of school district, there's quite a bit of power there. And then the school board, there's some business leaders, but, and then, multicultural issues, the biggest thing is, just with a wealthier student population and just population in the community in general, there can definitely be some apathy that goes in the school and kind of some entitlement and things like that have to be dealt with. And then the school uses technology to connect students and the community, and that really has been a big push. Again, more power structure. The school, I think they get most of their stuff from the state, and then the district and board of education work from there. I think the school is really responsive to the needs of the citizens. They reach out to the school. There's a lot of back and forth dialogue, and I feel like generally people feel like their voices are heard. Measuring public opinion. I'd say that generally the public opinion is very positive. I think the perception of the school district is really high. In general, it's thought to be one of the best schools in the area, school districts to have your kids go to. So that's a really positive thing. But there's some outliers just like everywhere else, I think. And then, public opinion surveys, district definitely uses them. A few big times they use it as parent-teacher conferences. They have computers set up and ways for people to give surveys. And I think links, they send out an email. And also anytime there's a bond issue, sometimes they'll send out surveys to gather information, to all the people that are in district lines. But I'd say, very strong community, very tight-knit. Everything runs through the school for the most part because there's not much of a downtown or anything like that. So very, strong community, and one that, it's good to know a lot about working in.